All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and unpack the latest headlines coming out of Russia about a personalized cancer vaccine called Antimix, or as you might sometimes see it, Entimix. Now, if you follow health and science news at all, you've almost certainly seen some incredibly bold statements floating around about this recently. So today, we're going to break the whole thing down.
We absolutely have to start with the genuinely shocking words dominating the news cycle right now. Officials are reporting incredible early results, with some outlets literally quoting the treatment as being 100% effective and calling it a potential cure. And honestly, even more wild, they're reporting 0 serious side effects. As you can imagine, that kind of language sends massive shockwaves through the medical community and the public alike.
But that immediately brings us to the core question of this explainer. Is this the real deal, or are we just looking at another massive dose of media hype? Today, we're going to set the record straight. I want you to look past those flashy headlines with me as we separate the thrilling scientific fact from the sensationalized fiction, relying entirely on the cold, hard data we currently have.
Okay, Section 1, Decoding Antimix, how it works.
So, unlike the traditional preventative vaccines we're all used to, the ones you get to stop yourself from getting sick in the first place, this is a therapeutic vaccine. It's designed to treat existing tumors inside a patient, and it relies on finding a very precise target. Scientists basically take a physical sample of the patient's tumor to locate what's called a neoantigen. This is a unique genetic profile, or a brand new mutation that is completely different from the patient's own healthy normal genetics. Finding these neoantigens is absolutely crucial because it essentially gives the therapy a hyper-specific bullseye to aim for.
And this creates a really revolutionary dual-action approach. The vaccine isn't just relying on one single method to attack the illness. It actually utilizes both a blueprint and a bulldozer, working perfectly in tandem to fight the cancer. Let's break down exactly what those two distinct steps look like in action.
Step 1 relies on personalized mRNA technology. Actually, this underlying tech is super similar to what was used in the COVID-19 vaccines, but here it's heavily customized for every single individual. It creates a specific mRNA blueprint that essentially teaches the patient's immune system to recognize those exact neoantigen targets we were just talking about. The real beauty of this is the precision, right? It trains the body to attack only the cancer cells, leaving all your healthy cells completely untouched.
Then we hit the second step, and this is where it gets really clever. It adds an oncolytic viral component. Basically, this vaccine contains 4 totally harmless viruses that act like microscopic bulldozers. They are specially engineered to directly attack and physically break down the existing tumor cells. And here's the truly genius part of this mechanism. As they destroy the tumor releases even more neoantigens into the body. That creates this powerful positive feedback loop that just keeps strengthening the immune system's attack.
Now, yes, this level of precision medicine is an absolute scientific breakthrough, for sure. But it comes with a massive logistical hurdle, a turnaround time of 6 to 8 weeks. Because a vaccine must be explicitly tailored to each individual patient's specific tumor profile, it's highly time-consuming and incredibly expensive to design and manufacture just one single customized dose.
Moving on to Section 2, the reality check, promising data versus a proven cure.
Shifting our focus to the actual trial results we have right now, the preclinical trials are undeniably promising. We're looking at a minimum tumor reduction of 60%, stretching all the way up to an 80% reduction in tumor growth. Plus, researchers are noting improved survival rates without any of those severe, debilitating side effects that you typically see with traditional chemotherapy.
But, and this is the critical pivot you really need to take away from this explainer, that staggering 100% effective claim we talked about earlier, that stems from a very early preclinical report and a tiny phase 1 and 2 study involving just 48 volunteers. While it's highly encouraging, 48 people is an incredibly small sample size in the grand scheme of medical research and drug approval.
We really have to look at this neutrally and objectively. A quote highlighting a promising experiment from a press conference is simply not the same thing as a proven treatment detailed in a peer-reviewed paper within a respected medical journal. One is designed to generate exciting headlines, the other is rigorously vetted by independent scientific consensus.
And let's remind ourselves what this actually means for widespread medical approval. Phase 1 and 2 trials are just the very first steps. They're small, fast, and exploratory. True medical testing happens in Phase 2 and 3 trials, which require hundreds or even thousands of diverse patients monitored incredibly closely over several years.
History tells us time and time again that promising early data often looks completely different once it's tested on a massive, diverse population.
Furthermore, we have to consider what the source material itself identifies as a pretty severe limitation: tumor mutation. Tumors are notoriously genetically unstable. They can mutate over time, which means they could potentially change their genetic profile enough to render this highly customized, super expensive vaccine far less effective down the line. This shifting genetic landscape shows exactly why a universal cure is just incredibly complex to pin down.
All right, Section 3, the global race for a cure.
It's really important to broaden our perspective here, because this development isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a massive, heavily funded international scientific sprint. Major organizations worldwide, we're talking from BioNTech and Moderna to the UK's National Health Service, right alongside these Russian teams, are all intensely researching personalized mRNA technology, and their shared objective goal is exactly the same: to find a reliable way to train the human immune system to fight back against cancer.
So, to truly temper our expectations, let's take a quick look at the historical timeline. Over a decade ago, the US FDA actually approved the only therapeutic cancer vaccine to date. The result? Well, it was certainly a major victory, but it only helped patients live a few extra months. It was not a total cure. Today, that incredibly high bar remains. The medical field is unfortunately littered with hopeful headlines that rarely translate into widespread, accessible cures.
Which brings us to Section 4, the final verdict.
Where does all this data leave us? Well, the objective truth is that it's a reason for hope, but definitely not a reason to abandon caution. Antamax represents a massive, thrilling step forward in the realm of precision medicine and our ongoing fight against cancer. However, it is definitively not a cure. Not yet, anyway. Not until large, independent, and strictly peer-reviewed trials are completely finished.
Which leaves us with a critical question to chew on as we wrap up. Will the incredible speed of personalized medicine and mRNA technology eventually outpace tumor mutations, or will the ultimate cancer cure always remain a moving target? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this breakthrough in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more structured visual deep dives into the science that shapes